Hey everybody, Josh from SILCA here with an FAQ about our newest product, the Elettrico mini inflators. I've got the micro and the ultimate here, which I've already opened, and have an actual piece of paper to work from today that are your questions from the YouTube launch videos. So as you guys remember, we launched these, 145% US tariff hit at the time, and we couldn't bring them to the States. That's now down to 30 on top of the 25 imposed in 2018 on top of the 13% standard duty rate that has been in place since forever. So now the tariff is only 68, or tariff and duty 68%. So for every $100 of Elettricos I bring in, I get to pay the U.S. government $68. Thank you, U.S. government. We have absorbed as much as possible of this at every level that we can, and I think fortunately the price has only gone up $10 at retail. Thank you to all of our retail customers and our bike shop customers especially. You know, we sell these to bike shops who then sell them on to people, and so everybody in the channel has to just make less money because we have the joy and the pleasure of paying our fabulous government all of our money. So let's dig in. FAQ question, and this is not a question at all. This is from the internet, conventional wisdom, coming from, the fabulous people on the internet who know everything. And that is, this is bullshit. This is just a Site Plus, rebranded as SILCA, blah, 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 blah. Thank you, Internet. Yes, we have made it clear, not hiding it. Our product is made by Psych Plus, or actually the parent company of Psych Plus, really a phenomenal manufacturer. They make quite a few of the ergo trainer, like smart trainers in the market. They make the Psych Plus brand. They make some computers for their own brands and various others. And then a whole arm of that company is actually a very large manufacturer of drones. So really impressive company, impressive manufacturing. For all the people who say, make it in the U.S., I wish I could. We don't have that level of tech in the U.S. right now outside of military or medical. We just don't. I mean, you go to this facility, we got nothing like it. So transparent, yes, Psych Plus makes it, but the internals are our design, and we can talk about a couple of things. So, their pump goes to 120, ours goes to 100. Their small pump goes to 100, ours goes to 72. Their version of the micro limits at 100 because it runs out of torque. Ours actually has an additional pressure sensor in there that stops it at 72. We know a lot of our customers ride Zip or Envy or other brands that are hookless. And quite frankly, I mean, most of the riding that most of us are doing, who's running more than 72 anyway? It's not nearly as common as it used to be. So what we've done, and here's a Psych Plus piston, and here is a fully CNC'd SILCA piston. One of the things we love about this brand is their all-metal construction and their use of bearings. I've bought about 50 of these pumps over the years, and they're using bushings. They're full of plastic. I would say if it's a pump in the market today with what I would call some sticky outy bits, to quote Adrian Newey, if it's got sticky outy bits, it's made by one of the other guys. It's probably full of bushings and plastic and other garbage. The other big difference, I would say, are these. These are LiPo batteries, lithium polymer, and these are way better than lithium-ion cells, right? So a lot of them, the things get big because you've got, looks like little AA or AAA cells of batteries, and these are almost like a little clay sort of a material in here. So we can pack a lot more power density into, a square, rectangular space instead of having to fit cylinders in there. This is tech, along with these motors that come straight out of the drone business, as we've said before. So differences between us and them. Oh, I've got my motors actually switched up here. So 20 millimeter piston, slightly longer stroke versus a 15 millimeter piston. To get to 120, you got to push less air. We push about 78% more air with this. And then, of course, to do that, you need a higher torque motor. So you can see this is a drone motor, 2212N, and this is a 2212. The N means that it has custom windings. So we have additional windings in there for extra torque out of the same motor, and I think one of the giveaways we'll show the close-up on here is the size of the shaft. And yes, I just said that, size of the shaft. We have a much bigger shaft. We'll just leave it at that. We also have a much larger journal to drive the piston and a much larger bearing because of that. So on top of that, we've got some other example of the piston size. Hopefully Phil can cut some B-roll in there. Other changes that we've made in our version, ours has an auto zeroing capability. So most of these products, they have the pressure setting zeroed at the factory. And one of the problems with that is if you, say, go to Leadville and you're up at altitude, your zero pressure is different. So you can actually be off by about 2 psi at Leadville if it was zeroed at the factory versus having a process for it to auto zero itself to ambient. That's why when you turn ours on, there is a slight delay of about 2 seconds, and that is it taking a pressure reading that it is now going to call the zero and then go from there. So I think, little details like that I think make it a SILCA product. Again, no plastic, our design fully CNC'd everywhere, no sticky outy bits. Made by SILCA+, designed by us, and I think different in ways that I would like it to be different. Maybe you want different. We get a lot of people say, I ride at the track, I want it to go to 120. Buy a SILCA+. It's the best one on the market that goes to 120. And don't buy anything with the sticky outy bits because they're rubbish. What does the sticker on the unit mean? You've got this sticker on the end, and that says, high temp nozzle, caution hot. That means it gets hot. When tire is not fully flat, start the pump before attaching to the valve. What that means is that you got to think of this piston inside of this bore. Depending on where it has stopped, it may, like if it's stopped at the back of the bore here, on startup, it's going to have to push a lot of air in that first rotation. And there's no good way, it's not smart enough to stop at the bottom of the stroke, at bottom dead center every time. So if it's at top dead center, it may not have enough power on startup to push that first little burst of air if it's full of pressure. Like if you pushed it on the valve and the tire has released, 40, 50 PSI in here, it just doesn't quite have that startup torque. It has plenty of startup torque to start really up to about 25, 30 PSI. But if you're over that, start it first and then put it on the valve and it'll keep going. Other than that, you've got some nice FCC, some CA, UK, European community, and don't throw away. So that's everything on that label. What accessories does it come with and what are they for? Let's open the little accessory pack. So it is charged by USB-C, which is quickly becoming the standard. Huge thanks to Europe. Can't remember who the comedian was, but had the great joke about, things in Norway are so insanely put together that, they felt the biggest problem in their society was too many charging cables. So the European Union and European countries are really forcing everybody to USB-C. No more crazy $70 Apple cables. So thanks to the EU. So you got a USB-C cable, you've got a needle for inflating, you've got a hose that allows it to convert to Schrader, and then you also have a thread-on Presta. This has been a question from some of our customers. They'll try this and say, it doesn't seal when I push it on. Well, it's not a push-on, it's a thread-on. So it threads straight into the Schrader. And then this Schrader is a swivel, so you can thread it on. This is necessary if you're using TPU tubes with the plastic valves. No secret, I am not a fan of those. If you have a bright colored plastic valve on your TPU tube, one, it's almost guaranteed to delaminate on you when you least expect it, because they pretty much, in my experience, 100% failure. The other thing is that plastic tube, the valve core isn't threaded in, it's glued. The heat from one of these pumps can melt that and the whole thing comes apart. It's terrible. This helps insulate the heat, drop the temperature a little bit from just using this device, and then that hose screws in there like that. Another thing that makes our pump different from the SILCA+, and I would say a lot of the others on the market, this is a Presta only in the pump itself. And then has a female Schrader thread, and that allows you to thread any adapter directly into it without needing the hose. So you can go needle valve, you could thread a crack pipe for a disc wheel, you can thread a hero chuck. Yeah, anything with a male Schrader thread will thread right in there, and you can then inflate. Comes with a spare O-ring for the seal in the end of this, because O-ring seals are great until they aren't. So you get a spare. Oh, and it comes with this bag. Why the bag? This cannot be made fully waterproof because it has to breathe. Right? Air has to come in to be compressed, to be pumped out, so there's no way to make it fully waterproof. We're actually using, we talked about extruded into this casing are channels that actually force the air to go all the way over the electronics and then turn the corner at the back before being pumped, and that cools the electronics and the battery before the air is pumped, rather than letting it kind of, we found a lot of designs, actually with CFD, that the air will spill sideways to be sucked in, and you can get some real hot spots. So that's one of the benefits here, but that means that water going into that USB-C, gets everywhere else. This is your super glorified TPU Ziploc bag, or I think I should say zip top bag, because that's somebody's trademark. So there you go, that's what that is. How long will the battery hold a charge between uses? So the honest answer is we don't fully know. We've been working on these for about 8-9 months. I have a unit that has sat in a seat bag in my office for 6 months, unused, and every time we test it, it tests as full. So I'm going to say safely, you are going to get at least 6 months out of a charge if you are, say using it in a seat bag or something like that. What size CO2 are you referencing when you mention what it replaces? Those are 16-gram CO2 equivalents, and here I'll reach this. Let's open a micro. Sorry, I use the knife so I don't damage the packaging, because these things are like hen's teeth, and these will get packaged back up and sold. So one of you lucky people out there, you will get the units that were in the video. And actually, now I'm just thinking about it, so I'll write you a note right on the box. So drop me a line, or drop a note in the YouTube below if you're the person that gets one of these units. So this is the micro. It says 350 milliamp hours was the battery that this was designed around, starting 9-10 months ago. By the time it went into production, the technology had gotten such that we could actually put 400 in the same spot, or the same space. So it's actually a 400 milliamp hour unit, and that is not properly reflected on the package. So you're actually getting more than we told you. We're updating the package for future production, but don't want to waste packaging that's already printed. And then you have 600 in this guy, but this is 7 volts, this is 11.1. So think of 16-gram cartridges will fill a 28 PSI tire up to around 9,500 PSI. This has a little over 4 16-gram CO2 cartridge equivalents with its new battery. So it can fill 4 road tires, 28 millimeter road tires up. You will easily get 2 gravel tires or 2 like 29 mountain bike tires with this. Well, I say gravel, meaning we're all running wide, fast mountain bike tires and gravel. 40 millimeter gravel tire, you probably get 2.5 or 3. So out of this guy. Again, this guy fits comfortably in a Matone. That's a question that comes down. Does it fit in a Matone? Yes. As we showed, this guy is only about 7 millimeters taller than AirPods in this dimension. It's about AirPods in dimension everywhere else, so it's pretty darn small. Again, minimal, almost no sticky outy bits in the micro. This guy also fits in a Matone, but then, of course, limits the other stuff you could put in the Matone with it. It's a little bit heavier. And this guy, with its battery and some of the other tweaks, by the time we got this to production, this is around 11, possibly 12, but I'd say on average, little 11 plus 16-gram CO2 cartridges. That's a lot of inflating for something so small. Recharges in 20 minutes, recharges in about 45 minutes, USB-C. All right, will it seat a tire? This one will only seat a tire if it's in a very special, great circumstance where you have good bead contact. It's possible because it does put out a really nice constant pressure of air, but I would not count on this one to seat a tire. This one honestly has seated pretty much every tire we've tried. I think we've had one no seat, and that was a specialized tire on a specialized rim that, quite frankly, we couldn't even get seated with our air compressor. So we ended up adding like a couple extra wraps of tape and finally got it seated up. But yes, every tubeless tire I've tried to seat that had a proper interface, this guy has been able to seat. And again, partly it is spinning in there so fast, it's like 900 RPM, that you are getting just these incredibly quick pulses of air that effectively it's like a constant blast of air. So it's more effective at seating even than like a floor pump, which may push bigger volume per stroke, but this is pushing it at a much more constant pressure. So yes, it'll seat most tires. Can I use with tire inserts? Yes, works fine with tire inserts. That tends to be more of a valve problem for most people, but yes, works with tire inserts. Can this replace my floor pump, and which is best for me? Yeah, honestly, I don't use my floor pumps too often since I've started using this guy. It sits on the desk, the workshop in my garage, and quite frankly, I'm using it to like inflate our car tires, the bike tires. It's the go-to. The whole family's pretty much on this guy. You know, this guy, again, only slightly bigger than an AirPod case. You know, I wouldn't use this as your everyday pump. This guy is really meant to live in your seat bag and be used instead of a mini pump or instead of CO2. Could it replace your floor pump for a lot of people? Yeah, if you're running road tires, and yeah, it certainly could. But I think this guy is going to be your better option if you're looking for a floor pump replacement. Can I use with TPU tubes? Yes, we talked about that. Just use the hose so you're not melting the tube. Oh, shoot. Okay, before I go, how do the buttons work? Yeah, so sorry for any confusion there. I think it's in the instructions, but the two are a little bit different. On the Micro, you only have one button, and this guy has a little sequence that we kind of developed to keep it from getting pressed in your seat bag. So you are going to press it. It turns green. That is how you also check the batteries. Green means charged. Yellow means half charged. Red means less than a third of a charge left. So if you click it and it's red, you need to charge it. This guy, you click it, it turns the color, and then you're going to double tap it to get it to pump. And that is a sequence we found just made it far less likely to get bumped and turned on in a seat bag or in a pocket or wherever. So I'm going to turn them green, double tap, single tap to stop. While it's pumping, it flashes blue. Pretty simple. All right, this guy, a little bit of a different sequence. You're going to push and hold. It's like a 3-second hold to get the button to turn on. The top button is the power. These are your pressure setting buttons. So I'm going to push and hold. Can't quite see it. There we go for about 3 seconds. Turns on. You can see the pressure that it's set to. I can adjust that up or down. And then to start it, I'm just going to push the button, single tap. Stop is also single tap. It will inflate up to the set pressure and stop. And then it'll turn itself off after I think it's 15 or 20 seconds, but you can also push and hold the button and it turns itself off to save the battery. So there you go. Maybe not as super intuitive the very first time you use it, but once you've used it a time or two, you'll get the hang of it. So there we go. All 10 FAQs in hopefully 20 minutes or less. Any more questions, comments, thoughts, drop them below. We always love to hear your thoughts, answer the questions. Yeah, be sure to give us a like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our future content. And we have some really fun ones coming. It's pretty exciting stuff. We'll see you next time.